Hello, hello, hello. 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 How you doing? What's up? Let's do this. Dun dun dun. It's Woden's day. It's Mercury's day. The day of thought. The day of prayer. It's also hump day. And this is Shootin' the Shoo with Adey Bell.
You're watching Shootin' the Shoo.
You're watching Shootin' the Shoo, and it's Wednesday, January 18th. And I'm so glad you're here with me. Anybody in the house, in the chat, showing up, do say hi. I'd love to hear from you. Just pop your name in the comments. And another practice that I find that works well for live streamy stuff is just tell me where you are in the world. Let's geographically locate. Hello, Kate Niebauer. Good to see you. See you. It's wonderful to see you. Yeah, so it's Wednesday, Shootin' the Shoo. I just want to show up and say, hey, how's it going? And check in with your hearts. Oh, Amaterasu here. Meow, meow, kitten. I love you. How's it going? It's the new year. In fact, well, I mean, depending on who you talk to, because for some of us, the new year is a lunar new year, and it starts with that new moon in Aquarius coming up on Saturday. Woo! It's also the Chinese New Year. So we've got the new freshies. We've got all the planets starting to go direct. That's going to happen until mid-April. And yet here we are. We're in winter. How was your holy days? How was that time for you? We Sunshine Darlings at her mom's. We we went up to see my sister and family in Ohio, right on the border of West Virginia, during the bomb cyclone. And we had frozen pipes, and there was no water for us for a while. We really went through quite a winter solstice rodeo. But we're okay. I'm hunkering down. I feel so yin. I just been reading my books and doing my best to choose good thoughts and not get too swirled up in all the goings on so that I can like I said, make the best choices and be present. I heard this really cool, someone sent me this awesome little snippet of Eckhart Tolle speaking about presence. And I've been into this thing, I don't know, I do this thing where I clip little bits of YouTube videos, just like the snippets, just the bits of like the juicy thing. And this is what he says.
It is our destiny then to go beyond karma by being the receptacles for presence.
There you go.
It is our destiny then.
He's going to do it again. I don't know if you can hear that. But he says it's our destiny then to go beyond karma by becoming receptacles of presence. I love that idea. I love that. So, I've been reading this really great book called The Light Inside the Dark that my friend Austin turned me on to. And yeah, ooh, how's your crisis going? How is your heart? I just want to hug you. I want to reach across and hug you. Just knowing that we're all going through it. All the crises activating our unconscious nightmares and We all get a slice of it. We all get to steward the darkness. In fact, what if the polarity between our light conscious awakening and our dark, shadowy, unintegrated selves was actually the perfect recipe for life, you know? What if that was so? Sammy says, my mom loves Eckhart's laugh. I just commented, I love his laugh too. His little chuckle. He's like so cracking up about the game of life when he's talking. He's hilarious. So feel free to join in, share with us what's on your heart. These live streams won't be up and public forever. We snatch them down and put them into the archives where they're safely nestled in a place where people who are of the depth of heart and soul are participating and watching them later. So if that makes you feel a little better about bearing your vulnerability or being witnessed, then you have permission. Happy Wednesday, Silhouetta. The Iris Colored Dreams is in the house. It's good to see you. See you there, my friend. How are you there in Oregon? So yeah, I want to tease out some juice. I want to tease out some really beautiful dropped in ness about our ride, about the new year that we find ourselves in, the new opportunities, and also, you know, the challenges that brings. And Silhouette says it's chilly. I know it's been chilly. I just enjoy the cold. There's something about the cold that's really medicine for me. Of course, you know, not being cold all the time, but cold options with the cozy options is medicine for me. So I want to tease out and chat and rap and be present. I feel tired. I feel like there's so much swirling around and doing, really ramping up. The self care has been part of my protocol. And I'd love to know about your self care protocol. How are you loving yourself through the crisis? How are you showing up for you? Is there anything new? Is there anything old? Are you writing? Are you dancing? So I'm gonna call in one of my dearest friends that I've known for long times. He's a sweetheart, and Austin, my friend who gave me this book, The Light Inside the Dark, is a kind and deep soul. And I think we're gonna have a fun conversation tonight about anything goes. That's the premise for Wednesday's Shootin' the Shoo. That's the fertile ground that I like to establish. Is just the sense of we're here, we're showing up amidst all of the things, we're inquiring within, we're just having some real talk, and maybe we'll laugh about it, maybe we'll cry about it, maybe we'll find, you know, some connected relatedness inside of our very tumultuous quest. What do you think? Someone wants to offer a promotion of my channel. Thank you. That's very kind. Let's talk to Austin. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Wednesday with me.
Grateful to be with
Austin.
you on this Wednesday.
Yay. How are you feeling, my friend?
Well, in this moment, I feel quite good because I've gotten to talk to you and I've gotten to talk to Casey.
Yeah.
And I feel warm and cozy in my little
Good.
home. And,
That's
and
great.
I'm looking forward just to talking with you. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Ugh, me too. Thanks for saying yes to this fun experiment and
Hmm.
just kind of showing up to live stream or like a snippet of a conversation between us just to to ground in and to connect, and also to maybe share some of the light in the dark and the process that we're going through.
Mhm. Yes, yes, I'm absolutely down for that. Honest conversation.
How's your
Best.
self-care going?
My my self my self-care is actually quite good. I realize that
Good.
I definitely need to take care of myself for lots of
Mm.
different reasons. I really last couple of years, I've really tried to take advantage of this wintering,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
what it is the darkest time of the year, is the coldest part of the year, it's the most yin part of the year, and so I've really taken it on in a way that allows me to process bigger elements and tides that are going on in my life.
Mm.
Um, I get up and do yoga and meditate every day. I do
Yes.
chants. I sing. After this call, I'm going to go up to a wood-fired sauna up in the
Yeah.
Occidental Plateau,
Oh,
and
good.
just to feel again that heat, the combination of being in the heat and then being out in the cold, and then
Right.
in the heat and then out in
And
the
then the
cold.
cold. Oh,
Yeah,
God. Isn't that a
yeah.
beautiful dance and negotiation?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm so glad you're taking such good care of yourself, my friend.
Thank
We
you.
need it in our tender times. Oh.
Yes, yes, yes. And I also have a lot of people that support me too. I have a
Mhm.
basically an army of therapists that I rely upon, and advisors.
An
You know,
arsenal.
an
Who's in the
arsenal.
box today?
Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Yeah, I talk to a grief counselor once a month. I talk to a
Mhm.
somatic practitioner twice a month, and I talk
Mhm.
to a Jungian, a psychologist, analyst,
Yeah.
every week. And
Right.
and there's other folks who I lean on, my best friend,
Mhm.
family,
Yeah.
and and also I also lean on my local grocery store. I know everybody in there by name. I go in
Yes.
there, I talk to them. We're not just,
Yes.
we're chatting it up, but we're getting into, it's an opportunity to be intimate with people.
Mm.
They call it
Mhm.
social nibbling, but it's so beyond that. It's just like
Yeah.
this is a feast getting to know these
Yes.
people. Yeah.
Oh, you just reminded me of one of my favorite quotes by Auntie Mame, who's a real person. And there was a book written about her and a movie made about her. And Rosalind Russell played it. I think it was shot in the 50s. And she says, "Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death."
Absolutely. And I
Right?
could certainly feel you can feel that sense of starving sometimes in these
Oh,
wintering.
yes. We are so
That's
very impoverished in our spirit, especially here in the
mhm,
West, in the America land. Which just
mhm,
makes me, something I journal about and just write about and I riff about is like, what is American spirituality? Where is American spirituality? And after the crumbling of all of the, major religions, I mean, of course, there's millions of people who are still devout in wherever they're at, but there's this sense of a melting pot, and also kind of this like a little bit of floaty, like, I don't know. I mean, if it works for me, if Buddha works for me, I'm going to go for it. But also, there's Jesus. There's this sense of kind of like the floating amnesia of our spirits in our home, which is something that I feel very passionately called to helping to land in some kind of home
yeah,
where, we used to go to church every week, and it
mhm,
wasn't just social nibbling. We hopefully, those were our people, those were our
yeah,
family, those were our we brought our triumphs and our grief
mhm,
to a holy place on the weekly to be refreshed and to be reminded. And I'm always kind of seeking out, like, what does that look like for us out in the world, and how can we create more of that? That's really a place of the sacred. Where can we bring our hearts to the altar?
mhm. Another place I'd mention, which is one of the greatest research, there's recovery meetings, and those
Yeah.
are some of the most beautiful and most sacred
Yes.
places that you can imagine. And some of
Mm-hmm.
those meetings, just because people are not showing up based on their successes and what
Yeah.
they've done well or what they've knocked out of the park, but
Right.
they're showing up there based on their challenges. And
Yeah.
there's something about that, building a
Mm-hmm.
container out of that, that allows people to really, you find yourself stepping back into your humanity. Um,
Mm.
recognizing that, again, there's the feast aspect of things, but there's also the struggle.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's interesting. I was in Mexico once working down there, and was talking with a Mexican anthropologist about Mexico. And then I asked him, I said, "What is the culture of the United States?" And he says, "Your culture is one of efficiency." And I said,
Mm.
that's not very
Right.
exciting.
That's not very mystical. Let's get it
But
done.
he
Let's
was
get it done now, folks.
exactly, and that's, I mean, that's the thing that has to be overcome. And that's the beauty of this
Mm.
time of year is that in a culture of efficiency and getting things done and more is better,
Yeah.
that the ability to actually land in your own direct experience of ordinary things is um, crucial,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love Lynn Twist, that the book, The Soul of
Mm,
Money.
mm,
She talks about changing the dream. So
mhm.
let's shift into dream language real quick. You know, if we're all dreaming the world awake, there is a sense of a dominant dreamer, right? And
Mm.
the West culture has kind of the dominant dream right now.
Yeah.
We're running the dominant dream, and shifting the dream from more to
Mhm.
sufficiency. I have
Mm.
enough for me. I have enough for this moment so that others may also have enough, right?
Mm.
So that I love sitting with that and being with that in a sacred container. And also, my good friend Deborah Wilder, who's often on Shootin' the Shoo with me on Wednesdays, she talks about, you know, when someone's in stress or spiraling out, or all these things are happening and our minds are kind of going a little crazy, just locating our bodies in space and time is one of the
Mhm.
first ways to kind of like, so I'm wondering if we can locate our bodies in space and time, you and I together, and everyone else who's on this in this beautiful live stream portal, to really drop in, see if we can just drop in a little bit deeper into that sense of presence and humanity and where we're at right now. And
Mhm.
I would love for you to lead us through something mindful and embodied. Would you do
Yeah.
that, Austin?
I'd love that. I had something different in mind, but we're just on this
Mm.
theme of really grounding ourselves and locating
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. That to me is really key.
Yeah.
And so let's try something.
Okay.
First of all, I'm just going to open up with a little bit of prayer here, if that's okay.
Yes,
This
please.
is water from Mount Mama Shasta, and this is
Mm.
cup is from the Sagrada Familia. If you've ever know that, the beautiful, beautiful church by Anton Gaudi in Barcelona. But
Mm.
just a quick prayer first, just to kind of get us oriented here with the water here. Great Mother, Great Father, spirits of this land, spirits of my home here in Sebastopol, with Laguna de Santa Rosa to the east, the town of Sebastopol to the south, the Occidental Plateau to the west, and the Russian River to the north. And beyond that, the universal ground of everything in the Sierras, the Ojai Valley, the mighty Pacific, and Mama Shasta. Thank you so, so much for my life. And thank you for everything in my life. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be with these folks, wherever you are in the world right now, where we get to create this little bit of Sangha right now with 80 amazing, amazing creative and musician and thinker and beer. Just so happy to be here with her today. Just please bless this call, and may everybody on this call just feel absolutely enriched in the process. And yeah, we're just going to enter into the ritual space now. Ahoma Takuya Wasan.
Mm.
Cheers.
Thank you.
So, um, with this idea of grounding, just wherever you are, um, you can either orient with the cardinal directions, northeast, south, and west. Now, for example, I'm facing east right now. Um,
Mm, so am
but
I.
yeah, So we're facing the east, and you don't have to be facing to the east or not, but what this is going to do is we're just going to start to sort of work first and foremost with ourselves, and then we're going to start to expand ourselves outward into space. Okay. So go ahead and just close your eyes. Let's just take 3 deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. And then maybe let out a little sound. And inhale one more time. And exhale. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a big inhale, kind of bring it in. What they call vase breathing. We're going to bring it in, like pause for a second, then take another sip again. And then we're just going to exhale the front of our body, the back of our body, the left side of our body, the right side of our body, our crown, and our tailbone. Take another sip of air. Another sip. And now you're right, go to the edge of your skin in the front of you, the back of you, the left of you, the right of you, the top of your head, and right in your sits bones. Another bit of air. And a little more. And just go outside yourself a little bit, the front of you, and the back of you, and the left of you, and the right of you, and your crown above you, and that space below you. Another air. And a little more. And now go about a foot outside you, foot behind you, foot to your left side, foot to your right side, foot above you, and extending down into the earth, a foot below you. Taking another. A little bit more. And go to one edge of the room, front of you, the room behind you, the room to the left of you, the room to the right of you, the ceiling above you, and down below into the earth below you, or maybe the basement unit below you. Another group of air. Some other step. This time go out to your neighborhood, and back of your neighborhood, left side of your neighborhood, and right side of your neighborhood, and above you and below you. Take another, and go out 100 miles in front of you, back of you, side of you, and the right side of you, and 100 miles up and 100 miles down. And another. And now go out 1,000 miles in front of you and 1,000 miles behind you. Move to the left 1,000 miles and the right 1,000 miles. And up. And feeling 1,000 miles into the earth. And now let's take a big breath. And another one. And go all the way in front of you on the planet, all the way to the back of you on the planet. Let's go visit the South Pole. Let's go visit the North Pole. Let's go out into space and now ground back into Gaia herself, our home. And 3 more breaths. Now go into the center of the sun and the edge of the solar system, and to the bottom of the solar system, and to the top of the solar system, to the solar system all around us, and now the solar system within us, in our hearts. Another big breath. A little more. And now let's go to the galaxy, the center of the Milky Way, the edge of the Milky Way, the bottom of the Milky Way, the top of the Milky Way all around us, and the Milky Way within us. Another breath. And once again. And now to the center of the universe, and the edge of the universe, and the top of the universe, and the bottom of the universe all around us, and the universe within us. And go ahead and come back into this space right now, you cosmonaut. Hey, this sense of connection to all things that we know.
Pulmonauts.
Pulmonauts.
It's a term I learned from James Nestor from his book Breathe.
Mm. Mm.
The pulmonautics. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Mm. The beautiful thing about the images of the universe too is it looks like a brain. It looks like neural networks.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting, you know. And as you said earlier, Adey, that importance of thinking good thoughts or thinking better thoughts.
Thinking better
Because
thoughts.
this has been a real theme of mine as a meditator recently, is that often in meditation it said the richness is in the space between the thoughts, which I agree. But throughout our day, we are using our thoughts to navigate the world. And so the thoughts that we think and being aware of those thoughts is also so important right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And more loving thoughts, more
Mhm.
self-loving thoughts
Mhm.
with the great critique, the critiquer that comes in and goes, "Oh no, 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 no. You shouldn't do that and you can't do that and make sure you don't do that and they're not going to love you, all the things, especially as entrepreneurs and artists and all of us who are really like braving the world of creating, our livelihood out of our passion, out of what we love, out of what we're interested in, right? And
Mhm.
trusting that others might find it interesting enough to, help us along our path.
Mhm.
Ah, oh my goodness. Thank you. That was beautiful. I'm reminded that I have so much to learn about my new geographical location. There's a lot of the sort of like surface stuff that you know about the Appalachian Mountains being 300,000 years old, the
Mhm.
oldest mountain range. And
Probably 300 million years old at
yes,
least.
thank you. I'm like, wait a minute. Thank
Mhm.
you. Math and numbers. It's old.
It's old.
It's old. And what's, north and what's south and just like orienting. It really took a lot of time for me to even just orient, like, where do I, like, where do we get our food, setting up CSAs. We got to do a CSA this summer with the farmers. And so it just reminds me of how much I would love to keep learning about this area in all these
Mhm.
ways.
Well, the indigenous wisdom, also known as primordial wisdom, always the thing about, again, the early humans and those that exist and continue to steward, their cosmologies were always hung on the land because they were oral traditions. And as opposed to
Right.
writing things down on paper or other forms,
Mm-hmm.
the land held the cosmology. And that was
Yep.
also the true tragedy of reservations, of taking peoples
Oh,
from their
yes.
land and putting themselves
Yes.
elsewhere. And
Yes.
if we go far back enough, all of us have an indigenous heritage that is there within us. It is actually
Mm-hmm.
part of who we are, and so to remember and to start to do that with the land that is around us, and using the
Mm-hmm.
cardinal coordinates is like when I'm doing this myself, I'm naming specific places in the world and each of those
Mm-hmm.
points that are
Yes.
meaningful to me. And I do think that actually creates a sense of connection between, again, this human body spacesuit that can experience isolation, but by just again connecting with land, it
Mm-hmm.
starts to bring that, it is building
Mm-hmm.
that reality beyond the egoic mind.
Oh, that's beautiful. I just saw myself like getting a map and putting it up on the wall
Totally.
and starting to like find these points, right? And places that I've visited so far, along the Blue Ridge and the hikes and the areas and the waterways, Oh my God, I invite everyone to, I
Mhm.
invite you to that project of how can you find even more resonance and naming your geographical location in space time to help you, because we all need to be reminded of our belonging.
Yeah.
Martine Prechtel says that everyone's indigenous because the animal is indigenous. We came from Mama Gaia. We came from the earth.
Mhm.
Um, Ooh, we have a question for you from Silhouette, and I'm gonna see if I can put it on the thing.
I see it. I
You
can
see
see it.
it.
Yeah.
Would Austin agree that the law of attraction applies to thoughts?
That's so interesting, just in what I just said, because this is actually, like I said, I'm kind of newly starting to brace my thoughts. I guess in some ways I do that in prayer, but I
Mm-hmm.
also recognize the importance of really looking into it. And so, going back to the laws of attraction, um, there are so many different ways in which we experience things in our beingness. And sometimes, of course, it's a thought it's coming from deep within, or you could say, something that really it's calling to us. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
also those things that are sort of generated within the ego structure based on capitalism, the patriarchy, and the meritocracy, and the other Wetiko elements that Adey and I were talking about. Just sort of
And
the
our
mind,
social conditioning and who we were
social
born
condition.
into and geographic, all the everythings. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And so, a long time ago, I was not a big fan of the ideas of the laws of attraction. It did not make sense to me, and it sounded like almost a bit of a cop out. And that I was, and I'm just trying to be transparent with my own journey here. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember people wanted to throw the I Ching, and figure out what's the feel of the year is going to be. And I'm like, why are we doing this is ridiculous, you know. And then I asked my best friend, I'm like, why are we doing the I Ching when we're meditating? And shouldn't we be getting on beyond the superstition stuff? And he said, Austin, look, if you really recognized and believed in interdependence, don't you think that there's probably ways in which, the planets and the orientation of the solar systems and the stars are actually influencing your being,
Mm.
and so, um, again, coming back to that idea of the law of attraction, I do think that when we are living from our authentic heart space, the languaging for this is tricky for me too, but when we are in
Yeah.
our authentic, loving space, when we're not trying to cope, we're not trying to strategize or feed ourselves with something that's going to be just like how to say, like a little, um,
It's a
sort of
lollipop.
non-nutritious,
It's a
like a
band-aid.
little
Yeah.
lollipop, exactly.
Totally.
When things happen, but it's very
Mm.
nuanced. It has to do with your ability to grieve, your emotional hygiene, um, so many different things. Your care for your
Mm-hmm.
physical body, your mind, your spirit, your emotions. All of these things play into it,
Yeah.
which actually, whether you're open actually to attract the things that you want to attract, or that you're closed off to them, or even that you're deceiving yourself, which
Right.
can be, we all do from
It's
time to
part of
time.
the it's part of
That's part of
the
it. Yeah,
ticket
it's like,
price
yeah,
of
like,
being a human.
I thought that was a really great idea. In retrospect,
And
that
you're
was
like,
not so great. But even the bigger ideas, though, that's the amazing thing. It's just there are, even in those things that go horribly awry, they
yeah.
still have things that if we're open, we can learn from them.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Absolutely. I want to read a quote not from our friend John Tarrant yet. Tarrant, two R's. I'm going with
Mhm.
Tarrant. But it sort of jumps in, it spirals around this law of attraction, concept, idea, how we frame it. And it's from Alex Gray. And I watched a TED talk of his recently, that he did probably years ago, but he really kind of spelled out his story in a way I didn't know his life story and his artistic journey. I highly, highly recommend checking out what he has to say about his journey as an artist. And he says that art is an echo of the creative force that birthed the galaxies. Creativity is the way that the cosmos evolves and communicates with itself. The great uplifting of humanity from its self destruction is the redemptive mission of art.
Mm. Aho.
Thinking better thoughts. When I expect good things and, like, treat myself with kindness and loving kindness and can see the beauty in all kinds of everything, the more that is potentiated in the field. This is what I think. This is just my experience as well. And I play with it all the time, it's a game. We play with it. But there's a responsibility in the way that creativity is the way the cosmos communicates with itself. There's a responsibility for us as creators in that, right? Like, what are we teaching ourselves?
Mhm.
I love it. The great uplifting of humanity from its self destruction is the redemptive mission of art.
Mhm. Aho.
Ah!
Mm.
And I want to swing back to winter, present moment. Here we are. We're all enduring the winter in our own way. And I know because I get to be privy to so much of the collective swirlings that we are in crisis,
Mhm.
a crisis like the likes of which we've never been. And we all get to steward a piece of that shadow.
Mhm.
And this winter compounds the shadow because we're in so much dark, because it's cold and dark. We have that, distance from our star.
Mhm.
Not to mention all the social whatnots that we've all just braved through with the holidays. But I just want to bring in this next quote from this book we highly recommend. Oop, here it is, The Light Inside the Dark by John Tarrant, who's a he's a Zen Buddhist. He's also born in Tasmania, and he's got this really great, Greek mythology thread in there as well. And so this quote is for all of us who are finding ourselves in some level of pain, right? Some level of emotional pain, physical pain, spiritual pain. I mean, I know so many people who are struggling with money. We're all struggling with money.
Mhm.
The North Node is in Taurus. And what that means, the North and South nodes of the moon that change every 18 months, it's a theme of our collective evolution. And so when the North Node is where we're headed, what we're learning, the unknown, what we're needing to renegotiate. And Taurus is about money. It's about finances. It's about food. It's about resources. About values. How do we value each other? What do we value? What really matters? And I know this dark of the night time that's been going on for quite a minute, and especially this winter, is bringing up these really beautiful and hardcore topics for all of us so that we can chisel our way down. We can descend down right? Yin is like descending down. So, John, here's the quote: "How we squander our hours of pain. How we gaze beyond them into bitter duration to see if they have an end. Though they are really seasons of us, our winter enduring foliage, ponds, meadows, our inborn landscape where birds and reed dwelling creatures are at home."
Mm.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? We can just sit with that.
Mhm.
Seasons of us. That's part of how me and some of my kin teach our children about emotions, is that they're seasons,
Mm.
and it's
Weather
weather.
patterns.
Weather patterns and seasons of our mind, seasons of our body, seasons of our relationships, seasons of our career. You can, it's so wonderful to use the tool of checking in with the seasons of where's your season at? Like, what season is this particular in, so that we can get a little bit more perspective.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
There's,
And
there's
Adey.
also, the invitation, which is, it's interesting, of course, winter starts off kind of smack dab in the middle of the holidays, and at least within the Gregorian calendar, which is always a little bit
Right.
overwhelming for everybody. And I think it makes everybody a little bit insane because it's really not the energy that we're wanting to go out, to go to dinner thing after
Yeah.
dinner thing after family event, this and that. And so, and it takes
Mm-hmm.
some courage to just basically step away from that, to actually
Mm-hmm.
engage and engage the yin that is available at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And even those ideas of New Year's resolutions. I think
Oh
there's a
yeah.
great, I think reflecting on things in this time of years is really wonderful. But at the end, when you go into the void and reflect on things and allow those things to, it's almost like you're allowing the earth to rest. And then on their own, without being like, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to, make this happen? And because it isn't spring yet, spring happens on its own. And I have,
Mm-hmm.
I freely admit I've been one of those people over the years that has gone in there and be like, well, what am I going to do? And how's this going to look?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a
Yeah. And it's
disaster.
the worst time
It's
for
the
your
worst.
psyche. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the worst
Right.
time. My family years ago, we all just kind of came to the same conclusion. We were like, because we were doing the Christmas thing, and then one year I remember I think my sister was the leader in this. She was like, you know what? I hate Christmas. I don't want to do this. And we all were like, you know what? We don't want to do this either. We were like, I feel stressed out. What is this thing? So we started creating a different
Hmm.
ritual. And I feel like we are the pioneers of like, okay, so we don't like the way the thing is. What's the invitation? Where would we like to go? What would be an ideal winter solstice night? And I think of the sauna and the fire and reflecting upon what worked, what we loved, our favorite memories of the past year, what we'd like to call in and intend. But there's not like a plowing the field kind of energy. It's like you said, the reflection of the
Hmm.
yin. And that's part of what I love in the work that I do, the Silver Wheel, which is about taking inventory of not only our psychological seasons, but just for womb carriers specifically, like where we're at in our season of our month, so that we can align with the energies that are being presented and get this beautiful, synergy, rather than struggling against, you know, what isn't there. So it's a really good prompt of like what are we going to create? How are we going to do it differently? How do we start doing differently in our own lives and invite each other to play in that format while not, yucking on someone's yum? Because I went through that stage too where you're just like, oh, this doesn't mean anything, it's a corporate holiday, f you, f that, f this. It's just like, could we be a little more mature and just be like, thank you for the invitation, I'm going to be over
Yeah,
here doing something different,
yeah. I'm gonna go.
What do you envision, Austin, for like what would be your ideal winter time, like as a family, as a tribe? Like what does that look like in your mind's eye?
Um, well, one of the things that I did with a friend of mine who just popped on the call here today is that
Yes, he's here, Christian.
Christian
What's up?
is in the house. He and
Yes.
I actually went. We woke up. So when winter began on the solstice, we got up at 5 a.m. and we went out to a place called Islands in the Sky, which is a trail right off the Russian River, and we parked another car at the ocean, and we went up a real kind of steep, kind of forested area, then came out in this big, beautiful area where there's sort of redwoods,
Mm.
like little, like literally just amazing, like islands of redwoods. And we both chose a spot
Mm.
to do a grief ritual in, where we dug, we
Mm.
dug, we asked permission and dug holes in the earth that we could put our faces in, and we just cried and screamed, let things go, and
Mm.
asked the Great Mother to compost that for us. And then we spent the rest of the day, we're at this high point. We walked down into Pomo Canyon, across that, over another ridge, and then dropped down into Shell Beach at dusk. And at that point, we got out our rings, washed them in the ocean, and said, "We're pledging our lives to the Great Mother, as our primary partner." And
Mm.
so,
Mm.
um, and then we jumped in the ocean, and then we went,
Yes. I was hoping you were going
yeah,
to say that. I was like, you got
we
in,
got
right?
in.
You got
We
to get
got in the
in.
ocean.
You got to get
We got
baptized.
baptized, exactly. So it's a, but it was,
Oh, that's so good.
we were just moving over the land all day long, and neither I'd been on the first part of
Mm.
the hike, but we didn't know the other place. And there's times where we're like, we know where we're
Yeah.
going, and we mostly didn't see people, but when we needed to see a person, they come along, like, oh yeah, you go that way. And so
Yes.
it was,
Yes.
I guess if I was to think about it, first of all, there was ritual at the beginning and end, just asking for help,
Hmm.
before we even started hiking, and at the end of it. That was one part of it. So we entered into a ritual
Mm.
space. Then we had rituals within rituals.
Mm.
After we did the grief ceremony, then
Yeah.
we smoked a chanupa together and prayed and gave
Hmm.
thanks, and made offerings along the way. We ate food and enjoyed the views, and
Hmm. And listen to
and
the
listened and
birds.
explored.
Listening to the
Mhm.
forest is my favorite,
Yeah,
Austin. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
just to
Oh,
be about.
that's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
so
Yes.
that was
Mm.
quite magical. And since then, there's been a real process of, like, really, we, as opposed to sort of wedding, it's actually more of a courtship, and saying, okay,
Yeah.
um, and this is, it's a way of going about, yeah, just relating to this being that is keeps us all alive, but it often goes unnoticed because she's so all pervasive. And
Right.
yeah, so
Mm.
um,
Oh, honey. Can I just officially, in public, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time, making it important, valuing this conversation, valuing our mother, and recommitting to being more awake in your courtship, in our relationship to her. Thank you, thank you, thank you both, gentlemen. I'd love to join you next time. and then we'll all go back to the hut and we'll have some stew and we'll sit around the fire and we'll talk about our ancestors and our triumphs and roses and thorns, right? Roses and thorns. That's part of our
Hmm.
family, sort of our fire ritual is just being able to be witnessed in what our journey has been
Yeah.
like. Oh my God, Silhouette says, interesting that we began this evening discussing what this country's spiritual culture is, and perhaps it's a spiritually creative culture. Yeah. We're at the we're at the drawing board, baby. 80s family is allowed to create a new way. Yeah, we're all allowed to create a new way and invite and be the invitation without
Yeah.
expectation. And Austin and Tristian created this new spiritual way. I love it. We have to come visit your secret land. I mean, not yours, but where you're at. Well, darling, I haven't been asked that question in a minute. I'll take you up on that.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh yes, come explore this place with me. I would love that. Um, Austin,
And
yes.
it's interesting because we're not inventing anything, right? These are
Right.
these,
No,
these are
it's not all.
these are
Yeah.
things that have been done forever. And
Yes.
that's, I mean,
Forever.
it's interesting because, if you were to ask me what's the main thing that humans need to do at this point in time, I would say it's animism 2.0. It's like
Yeah.
recognizing and being in that space, and it's a weird way of saying it on some levels, but we have to begin
Mm-hmm.
to build a relationship with the land, and really not only yeah,
Yes.
but also the artifacts of humanity. That's the curious things, because we are
Mm.
creators. Human beings are endowed with
Yes.
conscious self-awareness
And
and
oracles.
oracle.
We're oracles as
Mhm.
well. Every one of
Yeah.
us.
And so, and recognizing that, and that's a reclaiming, what did we call it, from the Wetiko mentality. Wetiko is that this
Yeah.
sense of separation, which, people like
Yeah.
Charles Eisenstein write about so well and so beautifully, and David
Mm-hmm.
Brooks in his
So
book,
beautifully.
the Second Mountain, all these ways in which it was like, we crave connection, we crave contribution, we crave meaning. And so the more that we can
Mm-hmm.
do that, and those
Yes.
elements are actually satisfied when we're living our creative pursuits. And I don't want to say that
Yes.
that's just specifically art or performance or drama or
Mm-hmm.
those sorts of things that
Yeah.
are classically creative.
Yeah.
Poetry,
Poetry and
yeah.
paintings and
But there's
yeah.
there's also a deeper cut by, when we are, as you said earlier, Adey, paying attention, when we are, being and listening to what's happening and in relationship with the world around us,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to being here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is in and of itself, the creative process. We are creating the world from that. um,
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, we're going to have to, on another Shoot in the Shoe, really dive into the quantum
mhm,
revolution, where we discuss, basically the blending of Eastern mysticism as well as dream life, dream being, and the quantum theory that's busting out right
mhm.
now. And on that tip, I just wanted to say, oh, there was a thing that just jumped in. Oh, and then it jumped out again. It'll come back. We have always been in courtship and
Mhm.
relationship, but we just sadly forgot who we are. That's what it was. The history of our own evolution as a species, as people, had the true history, who we really are, what our real history is, where we really have been, and where all the great cataclysm. I mean, it's just not now starting to come into
Mhm.
mainstream around, if you follow Graham Hancock's work and Barbara Handclough decades earlier, talking about these ancient maritime civilizations that were basically, wiped out from history. Now they're all myths and legends. But they were absolutely our ancestors, and the great cataclysm that happened about 12,000 years ago is a real deal. And Barbara Handclough in one of her works, she talks about the fact that it was such a great disaster, it was such an epic cataclysm, it was so traumatic to our species that there's a part of us that doesn't want to remember
Hmm.
it. And then there's a part of us that does remember it. And so that's part of the that Armageddon like tendency, looking at, I mean, just like looking at all the film, whatever, it's just all about the end of the world, the aliens coming down and wiping us out. It's just like this, like, really heavy story of like, and then when we destroyed the earth, right? So she's talking about how there's this embedded paranoia, basically. And what's exciting is that there's so much archaeology, there's so much breaking through the old, keep the lid on the real information in this day and age that is going to, I think, absolutely revolutionize how we think about ourselves, who we think we are, who we remember ourselves to be. And it's such an inspiring wormhole, rabbit hole to go down to like really reclaim our roots as a species, as a people.
Totally agree. It's
It's
so
fascinating.
it's fascinating and exciting, and and now, and starting from this place of wintering, I think the part of wintering which is so important right now is that we're actually allowing, to the best of our abilities, and I know everybody has different circumstances, to allow our system to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to use this analogy with the computer, but it's like when you shut down, you can load in new software,
Yes, you
and
can reset.
it can reset, and then it can come back up. And often that's my experience. Even when I'm not in the winter, I will have bad
Mm-hmm.
days, quote unquote bad days, and I've
Mm-hmm.
learned over the years that those bad days are chances by which the world, out there, is wanting to give me a new way of being, a new
Mm.
understanding. And
Yes.
so, I've tried my best in order to say, okay, this is a quote unquote bad day. This is a depressive day. This is a down day. The more that
Mm-hmm.
I can go into it and allow myself to
Mm-hmm.
be in that, the better off
Mm.
I emerge usually with something really interesting, you know.
So brilliant that you have that awareness, that you have that ability to sensitize and to really be like, oh, okay, something's going on here. It's not that I'm not efficient enough today,
Yeah.
right? What crazy metrics we're using to be human beings? Oh, I wasn't efficient today, therefore I'm an idiot. Like, therefore it's a
Totally.
bad day, that whatever. But I just want to acknowledge your ability to notice that, like, I'm feeling that pull in, and it's such a fascinating thing being a man. I'm
Mhm.
always curious about how men track their ups and downs, right? Their biorhythms of input, stimulus, and then like going down in, right? And
Mhm.
recycling, because that's how the spiral works. That's how the cosmos work. We come in, we bring in, and then we compost and bring down, and we refresh and renew, because if we don't do that, we don't refresh, we don't
Mhm.
renew, and we drive ourselves into, off a cliff. And as a womb carrier, as a woman, we have an automatic, beautiful little system within us that literally refreshes our energy. And when we tune into those seasons of the silver wheel, right, the seasons of our monthly journey, and we
Mhm.
actually take, and I've learned over the years, to take those down days and just to honor them, rather than
Mhm.
fight against them and try to be something that I'm not, try to feel something that I'm not.
Yeah.
I feel like so
Yeah.
much of the suffering comes from trying to feel something that I'm not,
Mhm.
trying to
I
feel away.
totally agree. Yeah, a lot of
So,
that, that understanding came from Richard Rudd and the Gene Keys, just in terms of understanding
oh,
specifically the
fabulous.
first gene key, which is all about
Really?
entropy, that feeling of
Yeah.
feeling wiped out, moving to freshness, which is
Mm.
like allow the entropy to do its thing, leading to
Mm-hmm.
beauty, which is
Is that
he
your
looks at
first
it.
gene key? Or are you
My
talking
mine is
about
my,
just his book, or you're talking about
you know,
your actual profile? Your
well, my actual profile there was, it's yin, it's prime yin
mm.
moving to prime yang. That's the, my
Wow.
life's work is
Yeah.
actually prime yin. Like I can
We
feel
haven't
that.
even gone into that. I can
We
feel
haven't
that
gone
too.
exactly.
That's
But
part of what we so relate about.
that's what we relate. And
Oh,
the other thing is, as from that creative, that sort of receptive energy,
yes.
I think the challenge for me, even though I love it, but is also acting on those. Like sometimes I just want
Mm.
to sit in the insights and just let it feel that,
Right. When's the
but it,
proper opportunity?
right, when
With the
exactly.
proper tone and in the
Right.
tactful way, and it
Mhm.
doesn't does that matter? Oh my gosh. And as a leader and as an artist, we take all of these things into consideration about, because of course we want it to land beautifully.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
We do. We want to present in a way that's just like, oh, thank you for that. And the yin is also about the chaos and that
Mhm.
fertile place, that fertile void.
Yeah.
And musically, it's something that I'm always looking for a place to be able to like express it.
Mhm.
How do we get that part of the yin, right? It's not just like soft and receptive and glassy and, watery. It's also like,
Mhm. Yeah.
hmm. Well, I think this is like absolute genius. I love speaking with you about the plethora of subjects we've been able to kind of dig into, and I also love you're bringing us that beautiful breathing practice to stay present. And my invitation to everyone who's here tonight and who tunes in is the geographical invitation, the art project, if you will. Make it whatever you want. But for me, I'm a tangible art maker, right?
Yeah.
And having
Yeah.
maps and being able to go ahead.
Exactly. North,
Yeah.
south, east, west, just keep
Yes.
expanding out and look at areas. For me in California, the eastern point is in the high Sierras. The western point is the Golden Gate, although
Yeah. Right.
and then the northern point for me is Mount Shasta. The southern point for
Mm-hmm.
me is Ojai Valley. And again,
Mm-hmm.
those are places that I have direct relationships with.
Yes. And I feel
And
like that's
so
important, being able
it
to,
is.
locate yourself on the soil.
Al-
You know?
Although although I had Mama Shasta as a point before I'd ever been there, and then when I finally went to go see her, that also has a quality there. So you can
Yeah.
actually start building the relationship from afar, because again,
Mm-hmm.
in the quantum field,
Yeah.
there's no such thing.
There's no doo doo
Yeah.
doo doo doo, which reminds me of a quote that I wrote the other day. Mirror, mirror in the cosmos, I invoke the power of spooky action at a distance. Release us from the bondage of our past and dance me into the freedom of the now. Being on opposite coasts. I'm over here in the east, you're over there in the west, and we're doing spooky action at a distance. We're quantumly entangled as we both choose better thoughts that is so much more aligned in our self-love and for our loves and our beloveds and the people that we know and the people that we don't know and all of us. I just want to say, let's see. Ooh, Kevin Decker says, we've been winter slumbering, 12 to 14 hours of sleep for the last couple weeks. Yes. I just finally got some curtains. I have this, we have this huge, it's like a sliding glass door that goes out to and I've enjoyed the getting to know the moon phases and the starlight and all that. But just this winter, I was like, wait a minute, something is terribly wrong. And I was like, I need it dark. So we just went on a mission and I got curtains and I have just blacked it out. And it's really helping me feel fully rested and fully embracing the dark, chaotic, void like descent. Descent into our bodies, like, let's go down, baby. Let's get in there.
Wow.
Christian says there's also to consider that sometimes we get stuck inwardly too long. Oh yes, it's a beautiful
Mhm.
dance. And Mount Shasta is the root chakra of the world. Oh my gosh. So I think as a final piece, let's get into that a little bit around stuck inwardly And I think it's so personal, right? Everyone has different dispositions and locations and places and things going on in their life. I mean, I can absolutely relate to the uh, introvert that's like kind of hard to get out into the space, and also honoring the dark of the night that we have, the dark of our winter. And maybe, let's just chime on a moment of, I think it's really about intuition, trusting that you've got your journey, trusting that you've got your mission, and also knowing when you find that stillness and it says, I need help,
Mhm.
that you ask for it, right? That we ask for, that we pick up the phone and we call our
Yeah.
people and we go, hey, I just really need to talk right now. Or can you come over and take a walk? Those moments of like humility.
Mhm.
We have to get humble and put down the pride of like, I'm cool, I'm great, I don't need da da da. And really just like tuning in and getting soft enough to be willing to be vulnerable with another.
Yeah. I'm so grateful you mentioned
Yeah.
that. It is so important, as you say. Thanks for bringing that up, Christian. It is a balance, and again, there's part of the balance is being with really challenging, difficult emotions, and learning to sit with them. Right, that they are here to teach you on some way, shape, or form. Right, but you
Right.
don't need to be a superhero, and you shouldn't try to be a superhero
Right.
in that. And that's why, really reaching out to people that you love, that love you, who get you, who care for you, attending meetings where people are getting together, in terms of, and just, grief rituals, this or that, um, you know beyond the party thing, beyond the socializing, just for sort of, that sort of thing, really being creating those safe spaces and relationships where you can say, I'm not well today and I need your help. There's no shame
Yeah.
in that at all. Being
Mm-hmm.
clear about that. We are in challenging times, and really, really rich times, but we don't need to be heroes or heroines. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually, the goal is to be more of that interdependence. And again, some of that is ours,
Mm-hmm.
personal, that are ours to work through our core wounding. And
Mm-hmm.
yet the other is that it's saying, hey, this is what I'm going through. And yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I agree. I agree. I agree. And I find that the self discovery tools like the Gene
Mhm.
Keys, Richard Rudd, also, digging into my astrology, whether it's Western or Vedic or, the human design, like the more I discover and learn and actually earnestly look into the patterns that create this phantasm you're seeing that we call 80
Mhm.
Bell, which is this whole form is an illusion. The more I learn about the patterns and the frequencies and the ways that is all co-arising to create this being, the more I feel empowered around how to work with my own energy. What are my weaknesses? Where are the points where I'm like, yeah, that right there, that's a point that comes up, feeds the demon. That's the Watiko. Like that Watiko feeds on that part of me right there. And I know it. That way, as I lean into my own self healing and my own self love, I know how to
Mhm.
choose, for assistance. I know how to choose for love. I know how to choose for healing. And it just, like moving to a place it's totally brand new. It's 3 hours away, 3 hours of a phone distance from all my beloveds. It's been a real journey being like, wow, how much I depend on and love the family connection, the daily, my friends would just come, I'm in the neighborhood, I'm going to drop by. And I know that I took this journey because I needed it. I wanted it. I needed something fresh, something new. I feel the total call and also the wonder of this particular land that I get to inhabit for this brief moment in time. There's so much majesty in it. And I also acknowledge that I miss you guys so
Mhm.
much. I wish I could just ride my bike over to your
Mhm.
house,
Yeah,
Austin.
me too.
Weep, 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 weep.
Yeah,
And here, look, we are. We still get to hang out.
totally.
So much gratitude.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is, again, we talk about,
Wow.
animism 2.0. We're using these things that are actually allow us to connect,
Yeah,
you know, and they
I
they
know.
help. I always prefer the in-person connections, over anything. But
Yes.
again, what are the things?
And these are
These are bridges.
bridges. They
Yeah,
work.
that's right.
They're
Mhm.
bridges. And it's not to, it's I know a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I don't want a video call and oh, the phone." And there's a lamenting about the tech, and I totally understand that. When there's a tech overload, it's really
Mm,
toxic and bad. And getting to see my, I have a lot of weeklies, I got my weekly, and it's like I brighten up. I wait for that weekly. I want to see your
yeah,
face. I want to feel your heart. So I encourage everyone here and listening and on the call, like, don't, like, just trust your own gut and intuition around when it's time for you to cocoon and put on the do not disturb and really shut it down, and when you're starting to feel like I need another, I need connection. I would benefit from that right now.
yeah.
Austin, you're so much fun. You're so deep and beautiful. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you. Hey, I feel the same about
This
you.
is
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. I just would
Thank you.
remind these folks when I first met you, I came into a room and there you were playing the piano, and I just, sat down and just started crying. And I, I was writing, I think I was still writing, or I've maybe just written The Shoreline of Wonder, all about creativity. And I said to you, it was like, you channel, don't you? And you said yes. And you said, I've had to learn how to work with that, because it could blow me out at times. And so, and I don't know what that's like necessarily. Your experience is your experience, but I just, began a dialogue that, is continued for a long time. I mean, I'm really enriched by our conversations. I love that you're so multifaceted in terms of what is of interest of you, which I think probably most people on this call are like, we're wondering, how do we link all these things together? How do we weave things, finance? How do we
Yeah.
weave together nutrition? How do we, the land? How do we socialize
Family.
education? These are the things that are up right now. Everything is up right now, and
Yep.
that's why everybody on this call it's so important. Just that we get to gather in these ways and just feel that each and every one of you has something to offer, and not in a rah sort of thing. It's like we're all holding a little candle that when we put them all together, then it's a real conflagration. You
Yes.
know.
Oh my God, well said. And lastly, the seed time, the dream. The winter is when the seeds are
Mm,
dreaming. And so imagine if we're all
mm,
seeds. What is the seed's dream? What is your seed's dream? The winter is the dream, dream, dream time. And so I love the concept, what you just brought up about weaving all the threads together. And I would say, oh man, go get Quantum
mhm,
Revelation. Just read that book. Just start there. I mean, Austin and I are, we're avid readers. We're like, oh, someone's got the na na na, and we and then we like disseminate and we understand, and then we make it our own, and that's part of what's really beautiful. I think about being alive right now is that we don't have a
mm,
script. We don't know how it's going to be done. It's never been done. And we do have agency to co-create and to co-dream and have these like moments of constellation and togetherness so that we can go,
mm,
yeah, I don't want to do that anymore, or I'd like to do it this way. So the invitation is around, what is your dream? And especially this new moon on Saturday, such a good time to write
mm,
intentions. And this totally spirals back to the beginning of this evening around clearing the mind clutter, choosing better thoughts, right? Being your own disciplinarian, and around the thoughts that you will and will not allow in your space. Almost like you're protecting a child, right? Like you don't want someone who's got like wicked, weird, violent language, whatever around your child. You would do your best to create a fertile, inspiring land where everything is possible, and we use discernment, right? We really tune into that. So this Saturday is the new moon, and I'm going to do this thing right here where we're having witchcraft. This craft is, as you know, Austin knows, we use three tools for transformation in a cauldron of intimacy. And the first tool is music, because music moves us into states, into emotional states where we become more authentic and more raw. And then we can harness that state, that emotional energy, to create intentions for the new moon that is sourced from a profound depth within us. And then the other fun thing is that we pull cards and we get to see that, oh, Austin's grief is a flavor that I relate to. We get to really feel connected and related in that we are all having similar themes of journeys, which actually bonds us together in our grief and our joy. So we get to pull cards for the audience members, and then depending on what they pull, that informs the set list. And so it's a magical evening of weaving. And I would love to see you all there. And James Hoskins, my cellist, is going to be here, and it's going to be amazing. So please come. We're going to have a lovely time. And yeah, I just want to say thank you again for showing up and being vulnerable and taking this ride and sharing with us your process and little bits about the ways that you are recommitting to the brilliance of our lives.
Maybe close with a little bit of water.
Yes, please. Got sparkling water and orange juice. Does that work?
That's exactly. Supposedly, we're 99% water by molecule. Isn't that
By
incredible?
molecule. Okay, yeah.
By
Because I've heard
molecule.
the 70%
Exactly,
something. But
exactly. In terms of volume, it
yeah.
fluctuates, but by
Ah.
number of molecules,
Mm-hmm.
just, it's not a big molecule. Two hydrogen and an oxygen right there. Little
Bam.
science. Bam.
Science, baby.
Okie dokie. Great Mother, Great Father, spirits of this land, spirits of the town of Sebastopol, again with the Laguna de Santa Rosa to the east, the town of Sebastopol to the south, the Occidental Plateau to the west, and the Russian River to the north. And beyond that, the universal ground of everything in the Sierras, the Ojai Valley to the south, the mighty Pacific and the Golden Gate to the west, and Mama Shasta, whose water I have in this cup right now. Thank you so, so much for this opportunity to be with Adey and everyone else on this call. Please bless your day and night wherever you are. Please allow yourself just the joy and beauty of rest at this time. May your dreams be filled with wonderful, imaginal things that just move you to tears. And may we all just continue to move forward in a really good way, helping ourselves and those around us to move just into the next day, the next week, the next year in a good way. Aho matakuya wa. Cheers, everybody.
Shanana. Thank you.
Mm.
Oh, have you ever written down your prayers? Like your
Uh,
blessings?
I pray so much. I mean, I've written down things in the line of intentions, but I also do sometimes write down my prayers.
I
Um,
just I just I just say that because I just had this spark of an imaginal cell as we close of you speaking one of your prayers and some music behind it.
it's interesting. I'm working with this nonprofit where we're doing a water album, and I think I talked to you a little bit
Yes.
about that. And we were all part of
Mm-hmm.
this group that was all about, individual integrity, group coherence, and then collective intelligence.
Yeah.
And so I was one of the co-facilitators of the water group, and the decision we decided to do a project that we're still working on. But that was one of the suggestions, because
Mm.
all of us would
Yes.
open the calls in different ways, but we realized the importance of opening calls and closing calls
Yes.
ritualistically, and
Important.
and that's
So good.
especially, the world can be so busy that we often,
Mm-hmm.
forego that. And so,
Yeah.
but by making this activity happen here and then
Mm-hmm.
closing, getting it another
Mm-hmm.
activity, allows our sort of psychic space to be clean and
Yes.
focused.
Oh,
Yeah,
keep the cauldron clean. We do
keep the
that in
call.
witchcraft, and I so appreciate you
Mhm.
doing that for us tonight. I really,
Yeah.
really appreciate your wisdom, and just keep me in your back pocket if you need a little something, something. Oh, have a wonderful sauna tonight. And thank you, everyone who joined us this evening.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see you. I hope that you dream the seeds dream of a new, wonderful beginning. The beginning of the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. Love you, honey. You're the
Love you too.
best.
Thank you, Haiti. It's so
I'll
grateful to
talk to
see
you
you.
soon, babe.
Bye.